Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Show Recap Podcast. I'm TyJon Charlie. Have some shows to talk about this week. I've had 2 weeks of shows and a couple other things going on as well. So let's get right into it here. I guess it's 3 weeks technically, but here we go. I was at Cheeks in Bloomington, the first weekend of the first Friday of the year. And I felt pretty busy from this stretch of shows the weekend before. You know, I had Friday, Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and so I don't know. I feel a little stretched thin this Friday, but it was in town, so it was kind of easy enough to get to. And I went pretty early to set everything up, make sure everything was kind of in working order. I think I'd found my smooth streak with the new in-ears, and so I didn't quite feel as good as I would have liked, but it was still decent. I was a little bummed that wasn't killing it, but it was a solid performance. I watched a lot of it, and wasn't as bad as I thought, which it's hard to get, when you're not feeling amazing. It's kind of hard to, just gonna. Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Show Recap Podcast. I'm TyJon Charlie, talking about my first shows of 2024. I almost said 2014, but it's been a little while since then. So Friday, following the New Year's Eve shows that I had, would have been the January 5th, and I was at Cheeks in Bloomington, and it had been a bit since I'd been there. I got there pretty early, and I felt like I kind of was ready, because I set I've gotten my in-ears kind of where I thought they needed to be, and kind of quit trying to do the guitar and the in-ears also. So I thought I was ready. I got there super early. I think I did kind of a simpler one-man band setup, because I feel like the other one was just a little too much in that room. What was surprisingly busy, and it was surprisingly like a good amount of people that had seen me kind of the last month at other places came out, and I felt good. I felt excited for these people to hear me. I don't think I delivered as well as I would have liked, but it's always a guessing game. I watched the video back, like I always say. It sounded decent. It just wasn't 100 or close to 100 of where I wanted to be. And common theme. I know I'm always talking about that, but it was okay. It was better than average. It wasn't like some of those shows when my in-ears weren't working right, where I felt it didn't feel like that bad. So it was still pretty good. It was just I thought it would be a little bit better. I was kind of all ready for it after the shows of the last weekend, and it was cold, and you never really can guess it. The first Friday of the year, you kind of just expect it to be not super busy. So I kind of had that idea going in, and then I ended up, and it was more busy than I had thought it would be. And so a couple people that I know from around town that have seen me some other spots, and then there was the 2/4 or 2/5 of the band Blue Iris came, and it was the lead singer Jen's birthday, and it was very, very kind of them to make it out and spend some time, which made me want to shine a little harder than I may have. But I was excited for them to hear me, and I was hoping that it was one of my best performances. But it was a fine performance, and fine should be fine, but I always just want to be a little bit better than I was before. I want to go, up in the direction of my my performances to better. But sometimes it's better, flat, maybe down a little, better, flat. Or sometimes I'll have a terrible show and it just feels awful all night. And watch the video back, and it actually is kind of rough, but can never really guess it. You try to keep a bunch of things consistent, like in your routine of what you do on those days, and try to get the right amount of sleep, try to get the right amount of water, try to eat at this time, and I don't know. It's I get almost superstitious about it. I'm not saying I stick to it super hard, but I have a general like formula for what I think is gonna set me up to perform the best possible way. But anyway, so it was a good show. I was happy that I brought people out, and happy that people seemed to enjoy it. But I had a little bit of that negative voice in the back of my head talking to me about how I could have performed better, tried to figure out harder why it wasn't sounding completely right or feeling completely right. But just try to fix it the next time. And then I had the next night another night at West Lafayette, which I pretty much played there the last weekend. So I mean, I just made this. It's a 2-hour drive, and it was pretty snowy out on this one, so it was a little bit of a slower drive home than the previous, and was not really looking forward to it. But I went there. It seemed like the students were back, and I felt really solid again. I ended up playing a ton of originals that night just because it was kind of background music, but then I would throw in like a really solid medley, kind of tuck those in here and there, and it was overall a pretty fun night. And I'd gotten it even finer. I think I was one trip in, one trip out on this one, so even a little tighter on that front. And that's always cuts down on the pre-show stress and post-show stress, because you already have enough anxiety going into any show you play. If you have to set up a kingdom of equipment, it sometimes can feel very daunting. But sometimes an acoustic show is like a little gift. You feel a little like but this could sound so much bigger and so much cooler if I did all the stuff. But it's not that type of show anyway. It's in my brain. Maybe that's what I always want to do, always want to sound like. But it does get exhausting doing that full setup. If I have like a weekend of 4 shows of doing that same setup every time, it can be, a lot. And then, maybe one of the times it feels worth it to do the big setup. But anyway, so that all being said, once I got there and played and stuff, I felt really good that night. I knew what to expect over there, and it was some decent crowd people. I was expecting, maybe the kids wouldn't be back yet or something, but it was surprisingly busy. And it was a little earlier show, but with the weather, it took forever to get home. So that was a little bit annoying. I was having some car issues with my brakes too, and I thankfully found out the following Monday that just needed a little fluid. So it's little victory, I guess. Got to appreciate those little victories. I did run the first open mic of the year on the 8th of January, and that was probably the most fun I think we've done over there. It's just a different vibe. It was Elvis's birthday, which I didn't know, but still did my Elvis medley. And I don't know, I was still kind of in that, used to playing acoustic, and my in-ears. Oh, I didn't bring my in-ears, so it just sounded good without them. I don't know, I had a regular floor monitor. I played a lot. I was getting into like some old songs the night before. I was playing like DJ Scribbles and The Jester, and a couple newer ones that I've had around for a while, and just kind of trying to tighten some of those up. And because I would like to play some of those more. It's just like figuring out the right arrangement sometimes. The reason I don't play The Jester very often is because the foot drum part is hard. I don't really know exactly how to do it justice, and I kind of just don't. I mean, if I practice it 1,000 times, it's probably what I should do, but that would be the way to figure it out. But I it falls to the back burner a lot. And it's a harder song to sing. I've been kind of in this like country voice lately, and I had felt like my shout, my yell, sing voice hasn't really been there because I've been, kind of more in the throat, more in the chest voice, throat voice to get those low notes. And I'd been really working on a lot of these acoustic shows, kind of that voice. I was trying to get that voice back, that kind of, where I can belt more so. And that, the songs DJ Scribbles and The Jester, those were more belty songs. So I felt kind of good doing them that night. And I was like, I need to bring these back more. So hopefully that'll inspire me to play those songs more. I don't like that they just kind of sit there on the back burner, because I do enjoy those songs when I play them if they are hitting right, and I do like the lyrics in a lot of those songs and what they're trying to say, and a lot of drop D songs ultimately. I mean, that's The Jester, that's DJ Scribbles. I put out a new video of one of my new old originals called Bold and the Best, The Bold and the Best, and that's a drop D song. I have another one kind of similar, wrote that similar time, but don't play it live in the same way I played The Bold and the Best, called Desire, so I've been throwing that one in kind of a lot. And then I have a brand new song called Scarface, which I kind of been deeming that my theme song, as I do have a scar on my face, and all the stuff is, autobiographical in that tune for sure, talking about a lot of little physical things and mental things about me. And so I don't know, it's a little self-deprecating, but I think it is kind of my little theme song. So trying to get that one out, and hoping I think I might have got a decent live take of it recently. I'll probably post that before too long. But yeah, the open mic, it was, I felt solid out of the gates, which I didn't the last time, and some new people showed up. I played a bunch of Elvis, and then one of the guys that came last time, that was a really, really good singer. He did it. He played like 3 or 4 Elvis songs, and then somebody got on stage and sang an Elvis song with them that wasn't even planned. And yeah, it was just a different vibe than some of them, and definitely a fun vibe. So that She Said band was there, the 2 ladies from that, and then Aaron Newsom was the kid I was talking about. He's going to come out and play some acoustic spots for me at the end of the month, so that'll be fun. Just change things up a little bit, and I'll just play during my breaks and get him some more stage experience and all that. He's very talented, so I try to encourage that sort of thing, I suppose. And I don't know, it was probably the best open mic that we had in a long time. And I guess we've only done 3, but so it was the best of 3. But and busy too, and it was a different crowd, so it was a good time. And the next night I was up in Thornton at the Quarry Ballroom, and it was my 3rd time there. Last time I set off the fire alarm because I was so hot. No, I used my fog machine, and for the first time indoors, and I set off the fire alarm. Very embarrassing, but it was busier last time. This time it was pretty slow, but I don't know, I just ended up and tried to be more ballsy with the originals, because I think a lot of times I lead on the covers there, and the people who are there and that own the place really into music, very music forward. So I was kind of excited for them to hear some of those original songs, and it all felt pretty good throughout the night. And it was just kind of again, the ride down wasn't too bad, but the ride home, I got stuck in this spot between it was like Gardner. I was on 55 between Gardner and Lexington, and it was like the visibility, it was like a wind advisory, and it had been snowing, and it was just blowing the snow. There were times that like the road would just disappear, and I couldn't see like 10 feet in front of me. And of course, that made me drive very slow, and I kind of leaned on a bunch of semis, kind of leading the way. Although, a lot of them did pass, and getting passed by the semi in the snow can be kind of a a scary spot to be in because, they kick all the snow up that's on the interstate, and, you have less visibility. And if you add that wind, and the wind wasn't like a solid chunk the whole way, but, you just run into these patches where you couldn't see, and there's a bunch of snow on the road also. And I don't know, it took probably an extra hour to get home, and that's been the theme of my shows as of lately, because it's been very, very cold, very, very windy, very snowy. It's probably what January should be. That's generally what you think of when you think about January, but we've gotten, I think, the last couple of years a little bit lucky on that front. But my next show, another 2-hour drive, and this was kind of into where the snow had come from. It was into Davenport, Kilkenny's again, and so I wasn't really expecting a big turnout. It took a lot. I planned an extra hour to get there. I really took my time setting up. I even had time to restring a guitar before I even started. And I was listening to this podcast on the way in with some comedians, and they were talking about committing to the bit, commit to the bit, and kind of being fully invested. And so I don't know. I had plenty of time, got everything set up. It was surprisingly busy, and I was just thinking, like, is this going to be one of those nights where I just kind of sit in the little corner that I'm in? It has a stage. It's like a little uplifted part of the place. Sometimes they put tables there, but when bands play, it acts as the stage. And so I was just like, I'm just going to come straight out. I've been feeling pretty confident lately. I'm just going to do originals and just see what happens. So I did like 4 originals right in a row, and they went okay. They went pretty decently, and but I wasn't getting much response from the crowd. So I just started like trying to engage the crowd, like in between songs, and I was talking, kind of asking, like, what do you guys want to hear? What kind of music, what genre? And I could kind of lead them into asking me to play the songs that I, can play from that genre. And what really kicked them into gear was somebody, of course, shouted "Freebird," and that's the joke that everybody likes. And so I was like, okay, well, I can, I know a couple lines and most of the chords of that song, and usually when people do it, if I'm feeling frisky enough, I'll just be like, all right, you asked for it, here it goes. And I usually get the chords wrong a little bit, I get the words wrong a little bit, and I just am obnoxious the way I play it, kind of. And I did that, and I know like maybe 2 verses of the song, and I don't know the solo at the end, but they got a kick out of it, I guess, is what I was getting to. And I kept trying to, for that whole first set, I just kind of had a good back and forth with the crowd, and it made them like significantly more into it than it had been. And I'm like, part of me is like, is that what I've been missing? I get so locked into all the things I'm doing with the gear and the sound and the performances and the linking songs together, and that's that crowd engagement part maybe is my biggest weakness. And I didn't really think I would be able to really sway them, but it seemed like I kind of did. And it could have just been the crowd, it could have just been a one-off thing. I've been trying to keep that in mind more. Maybe that's a skill I need to actually develop, trying to get the crowd into it. And I've had some successful nights since. I guess I only had one show since, and it kind of worked when I kept that in mind and tried to really talk to the crowd more and see where they wanted me. But yeah, so then I came back. It was a little hard to get them on the second set, I thought, because I opened with a medley that I thought, this is the killer medley that everybody likes. And I was doing a lot of in real time editing, and I was talking in between songs too, like in the medley. Like I would do the chords still and, ask people, do you know this song? Or like, have you heard of this band? And if I was getting no reaction, I would just skip, I'd go to the next one, or I'd go to a completely different one. And it just, I don't know, it kind of worked for some of it, but some of it was a little sloppy with the transitions, because I was going kind of trying to speed through some songs and kind of jump to different songs. And so, I don't know, it wasn't as good as the first time, and I tried to talk to him a little bit more, kind of got him here and there, and then I was like, I'll just, take another break. Came back, and I don't know, I was feeling a little ballsy, I guess. So I did some really old songs. I think I opened with "Hey Ya" by Outkast, which I went over that song like, you know, a little bit, maybe 2 weeks earlier. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of know I definitely know the chords, because one of the first sets I ever did in a band played "Hey Ya" by Outkast, and I didn't sing it, but Ross Graves that's back when we were Beans and the Intergalactic Warriors, so it was kind of funny because we opened with "The Darkness," I believe in a thing called "Love," and we played "Hey Ya," and I think we did some punk pops, and like "My Paper Heart" by All American Rejects or something. But I don't know, those two first song choices were, very of the time. It was kind of the time that those songs were both very popular, and they were kind of like interesting, kind of not what you'd expect some young, I think we were like sophomores in high school. But anyhow, to make a long story longer, which I guess is what a podcast is, right? I just kind of threw it in to see how I would do. I hadn't went over the words very much, and I hadn't listened to it, and I just winged it. And the first verse and chorus went really well, and I was kind of talking through it with him, like I don't play this song a lot, and I kind of raised some eyebrows, and people were like, yeah, "That was kind of cool. It was different." And I ended up playing, I think even right after that, just playing songs I hadn't played in a long time. I played "Float On," which it was very, very questionable whether the audience would have known that, but I asked, and they did, and they liked it. And then the one that really got them was "Creep" by Radiohead, which, Lo used to sing that when we'd play it, so it's like I have a good grasp of it, but it's always like a little unfamiliar because I don't practice it. And those belty parts at the end, I'm always a little scared of, and it was kind of fun when I was playing, it got to that part, and they had been singing every chorus, once you get to that, "But I'm a creep" part, they were into it and they were excited, even though it's kind of a slow, depressing song. But I think everybody relates to that song to some extent. And so, I getting close to that belty part, I'm like, okay, here comes the hard part. We'll see how it goes. And then, I went into the bridge where he does all that belting, and had my in-ears, had all the sound stuff, and I had my bass in that one too, which is adds a really full sound. And then I switched to my super delay, super reverb setting, and I just really it's been a minute since I've done something to give myself chills, but that was definitely a moment. I just hit those notes, and of course I didn't have a camera to capture it on at that point, but I just really belted and nailed those notes, and it just felt so good. And I think the crowd was slightly impressed, and it was kind of cool too with it, because I played all those originals at the beginning, kind of let that fall to the wayside. But at the end of every set, I would be like, "You guys," after I felt like I did one that the crowd was into, I'd be like, "You guys mind if I try an original?" And they would all, because I asked and because they were already engaged, they kept saying yes. So I would do an original, and it would go decent, and would promote the original music a little bit, which isn't something I'm always a little scared. It is something I'm always a little scared to do there, because I feel like I just lose them sometimes. But that was kind of a good way to do it. And then getting to the last show the next weekend. So this last weekend, I just could not fill the 20th. I mean, it was kind of funny because I don't really get Saturday nights off very often, and I had one off, and there was no other live music, so it must have just been like a weird night all around. I mean, there were a couple that I hadn't really heard of, but not anybody I was like, I need to go out and support them. And there's somebody that I was hoping, like Kyle Yap or No Robot or John Till or something like that was going on in town, but it just seemed like everybody wasn't in town that night, and the people that were, I didn't really know. And so I kind of just took it pretty easy ultimately. Kind of just weird having that Saturday night off. But the Friday night show was at the Sidecar Supper Club. Terrible ride. It was pretty good till Pontiac, and my GPS took me what they thought would be a faster route, kind of on some highways, back roads and stuff, and the snow was terrible. Like there was like an inch or so of snow on a lot of spots. So I was driving like 15. I left with, so I should have had, 3 hours of setup time almost. And it took an extra hour and 20 to get there. So it was like, I got there and I had like just an hour, like perfectly to set up, and I was doing the one-man band, so place I never played, and weird parking situation. I was just like flustered, kind of. And it was a 2-hour set, and that's a little unusual for me to do that. I never know if I should take a break or if I should play the full way through. And I kind of had a forced break on this one, but I'll get to that. But I got there, I got started on time, sounded pretty good. There was a birthday party, a little bit older crowd than me, but not, they still knew a lot of the songs I was playing, and it was they were requesting some 90s and some 80s, and I had some good answers for that, and I was trying to keep that engagement up, and I think that was the right move. I did have a couple issues, though. I had a point where I broke a string, which, maybe I could have prevented if I would have restrung my guitar before, but they didn't look too bad, and I was just kind of going to roll the dice, I guess. And then the bridge pin popped out when the string broke, I guess, and I could not locate the bridge pin. And so I had the other guitar. I ended up, first I was just like, maybe I'll just play a couple songs without and then take a break, but couldn't even find a G without opening a new pack of strings, and I'd already spent a lot of time. So I stole the bridge pin from the other guitar, put the G on, and then my mic cable went out for right when I started the next song. So I'm at like a 10-minute break on a 2-hour set, which feels weird, and I'm like a little extra sweaty at this point, and changing cables out, and I ended up it was kind of quiet because it's a smaller place, so I didn't even put my in-ears back in, and I was talking a lot to the crowd, and I ended up playing a lot of songs that I think they really enjoyed, and they were like, we're gonna leave and come back, and I'm like, I'm done at 11, like I'm not gonna be here, because it was like 10:30 when they were saying that. But super nice crowd, and I had this idea of doing a bunch of originals when I went there, and then it was a birthday party, and they seemed like they wanted to hear some covers, so I ended up and just gave them what they wanted. But if they weren't a good crowd, I wouldn't have kept doing that. But just asking them what they liked and what they wanted to hear out of what I knew, and it was I think a good choice ultimately. And then they left in the last half hour. I did a bunch of original songs, and a couple other people came, and there was a couple of tables in there. Another girl that had a birthday, and she was there with on a date or something, and she wasn't as picky about the set list, and either was her date. So ended up playing, like I said, a lot more originals. And another little table came, and they were kind of disappointed that they only got to hear a couple songs, because they'd looked me up before, and they were kind of excited. And so I'm hoping to get some potential fans out of all that. But yeah, so pretty slow weekend that week. And this next week, I have 4 shows. I have another piano gig during the day, but I local tap this Thursday, and then Tanglewood Village, the place I got the piano gig, and then I'm gonna have to set up early at Run and Errands here in town, and then hightail it back from Decatur to play at Run and Errands, and then I have an acoustic set at Analytical Brewing in Lexington. So yeah, and then the following Tuesday I have another kind of Luther Oaks kind of a retirement place as well during midweek, so that'll be kind of interesting. And then I got some recording time set up that following Wednesday. So lots of exciting stuff, lots of big shows and small shows and new recordings, and I don't know, lots of stuff to be excited about. So be on the lookout for all that. And as always, I appreciate anybody who takes the time to listen. You are very kind to spend your time with me. And if you made it this far, especially, it's impressive. But anyway, I appreciate you. And I will just talk to you next time. All right. Have a good one. Bye.